I always knew something was off when the morning silence felt too perfect. The birds chirped, the breeze hummed, but something crucial was missing: the rhythmic rustle of Clover's steps near the feeding station. It was like a ghost town in the part of my farm where she usually roamed. My gut twisted. I whistled once, twice, but no familiar rustling came from the woods. Clover always came. She was practically trained at this point, a wild creature that had somehow become family. I pulled out my phone and checked the GPS tracker I had fitted around her neck last fall, courtesy of a state-funded wildlife research program. The signal showed she was still on my land, but stationary, unmoving. My pulse picked up. Deer didn't just stay still for that long, unless something was wrong. Boots crunching against the damp morning grass, I followed the tracker's coordinates, my mind already cycling through worst-case scenarios. Had she been injured? Caught in a poacher's snare? God forbid. Had one of those idiot HOA residents ignored the property lines and taken a shot at her? I muttered a curse under my breath. The closer I got, the more dread clawed at my chest. The tracker's last ping was near the creek at the edge of my land, right where it met the backyards of Oak Ridge Estates, the hellish suburban development that had sprouted up in the past decade, ruled by the tyrannical HOA queen herself, Deborah Whitmore, or as everyone called her, Karen. I stopped short. The ground was disturbed. A freshly dug mound of dirt sat near the tree line, just a few feet from the creek. My stomach sank as I dropped to my knees and clawed at the soil. First, I found the GPS collar, the strap cut clean through. Then, I found the blood-soaked leaf. Clover was gone. Someone had shot her and buried the evidence. A red haze filled my vision. My hands curled into fists as I stared at the cut collar. This wasn't some freak accident. This was deliberate. This was personal. I stormed back to the house, rage simmering just under my skin, and yanked open my laptop. There was only one place to check first. The Oak Ridge Estates HOA Facebook group. A cesspool of neighborhood snitches, overenthusiastic rule enforcers, and people who thought having a no-fun policy was a personality trait. And there it was. A post from Karen herself, time-stamped last night. A grainy photo of her grinning like a damn psychopath, posing next to Clover's antlers, a hunting rifle in one manicured hand. Trophy hunting in my own backyard. Sorry Bambi. Survival of the fittest. Nail polish. My chair scraped against the floor as I stood so fast I nearly knocked it over. She was bragging. She had no clue what she had just done. No clue that this wasn't just any deer. No clue that she had just illegally killed a research animal. I cracked my knuckles. Time for war. I grabbed my keys and made the drive to Oak Ridge Estates, rolling into the pristine, soulless neighborhood that reeked of freshly cut grass, overpriced SUVs, and a general lack of joy. The HOA clubhouse was hosting one of their routine morning meetings, where residents gathered to hear Karen dictate her latest unnecessary rules. No flags of any kind. No mailboxes that weren't pre-approved. No dogs over 20 pounds. And now, apparently, no protected wildlife. I pushed open the doors, and all conversation stopped. The room was filled with retirees in pastel-colored sweaters and middle-aged homeowners who lived for passive-aggressive complaints about lawn height. And at the center of it all, in her self-appointed throne, sat Karen. Blonde bob perfectly in place, nails gleaming, expression smug. I didn't waste time. I walked straight to the front, pulled out Clover's GPS collar, and tossed it onto the table in front of her. Explain this. Karen blinked, then looked at the collar like it was a used tissue someone had thrown at her. She wrinkled her nose. I have no idea what that is. I leaned in, my voice sharp as a blade. That's the tracking collar from the deer you shot. The one you buried in my woods. The one that was part of a state wildlife conservation program. Murmurs rippled through the room. Even the die-hard HOA loyalists shifted uncomfortably. Karen, however, merely sighed, adjusting her sweater. Oh, please. It was a deer. They're practically pests. She scoffed. If anything, I did you a favor. I nearly saw red. A favor? A favor? You poached a protected animal, I snapped. That deer had a GPS tracker on it. Do you even understand what that means? The state is going to see exactly where she was last before she died. And guess whose backyard that is? Karen's smirk faltered for the briefest second. The state isn't going to do anything, she said, crossing her arms. It was on my property. And I don't see a problem with hunting a nuisance. A slow grin spread across my face. Well, let's test that theory, shall we? I pulled out my phone and, with a single tap, sent the GPS data directly to the local game warden. I just sent everything over. I'd love to see you explain yourself when they come knocking. Karen's face paled just slightly before she forced a laugh. You're being ridiculous. It's not like I shot someone's pet dog. My jaw clenched. She was more than just a deer. Silence settled over the room, thick and suffocating. Even the people who usually worshipped Karen as the HOA's queen bee looked uneasy. Finally, she waved a dismissive hand. Whatever. This meeting is over. She grabbed her purse and stood, trying to make an escape. I stepped in front of her. Oh no, Karen. This is just getting started. The moment Karen stormed out of that HOA meeting, I knew this wasn't over. She thought she could shrug off what she did, but she had no clue what was coming. A person could weasel their way out of HOA fines and petty neighborhood disputes, but poaching a protected animal? That was a whole different league. And I had the proof to make sure she felt every ounce of karma coming her way. I wasted no time. As soon as I got back to my truck, I called the local game warden's office. The woman on the other end of the line didn't even let me finish my sentence before her voice sharpened with interest. A GPS-collared research deer shot and buried? That was serious. Within minutes, they dispatched an officer to meet me at my farm. By the time Officer Reynolds arrived, I had everything laid out. The GPS tracking data, screenshots of Karen's ridiculous Facebook post, even pictures of the fresh burial site where I found Clover's collar. He examined everything carefully, nodding as he swiped through the evidence on my phone. "This is bad," Reynolds muttered. "Real bad." "Yeah, tell me something I don't know," I said, crossing my arms. "She didn't just hunt outside of season. This is a research animal. That's felony territory." I could have kissed the man. Instead, I grinned and leaned against my truck. "So what's next? Please tell me it involves Karen regretting every life decision she's ever made." Reynolds sighed and shook his head. "Well, first we'll have to conduct an official investigation. I'll need to get a warrant to search her property for the remains." I didn't love the sound of that. A warrant meant waiting. Waiting meant time for Karen to do what she did best, squirm her way out of trouble. "Any way to fast-track this?" I asked. Reynolds gave me a pointed look. "Unless she confesses or does something stupid to tip us off, we have to follow the legal steps." Karen doing something stupid wasn't out of the question. In fact, it was almost guaranteed. I didn't have to wait long for her to start digging her own grave. Less than an hour after I left the HOA meeting, she was already in damage control mode, spinning a web of excuses on the Oak Ridge Estates Facebook page. According to her new version of events, she had no idea the deer was special. She claimed it was aggressive, that it had been charging at neighborhood pets and children, forcing her to take action for the safety of the community. I snorted so hard reading that post I nearly choked on my coffee. Clover aggressive? That deer was about as intimidating as a golden retriever with a head cold. If anyone in the neighborhood had ever seen her, they knew Karen was lying through her veneers. But Karen had power, and power made people stupidly loyal. A handful of HOA members jumped to her defense, nodding along like sheep. But something interesting started happening. More people started pushing back. Neighbors I never expected to speak up suddenly chimed in. People were digging into Karen's past, pointing out all the times she had lied, manipulated, or outright bullied people into getting her way. She fined me $200 for painting my door blue. Said it wasn't community approved. She reported my son's lemonade stand for violating food safety regulations.